Yeah, I'm out here with my swing coach Rick, and we're working on my swing.
Hey guys.
We went to the UVA Speed Clinic today, and what they found out was, I wasn't really keeping this right knee stable when I made my transition, so I could start rotating here. So I feel like I should get a stretch from the left hip to my right obliques on my backswing, and then when I start going down, I get the squat, then I get a stretch from left oblique to right hip and go through. So I was basically had frozen hips, and that was what was causing me to straighten up a lot during, especially on my driver's swing.
Yeah, so what you would do was, instead of rotating around the hip socket, you would shift weight, and then the right knee would straighten, and the pelvis would translate that way.
Right.
And it wasn't a turn at all. You weren't
Right.
using your hip sockets.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to try a couple drivers here and see how we do.
Folks, that's what we call roasted. As many balls as Doug has hit, and as astute as he is in his golf knowledge, he really had no awareness that his hip was frozen until we went on a 3D analysis with Max Prokopi at the UVA Speed Clinic. So this is first day. Looking pretty good.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah. First time becoming aware of basically my right hip was frozen on the backswing, causing my right leg to straighten, translation here, and then also because I'm in this position, I can't establish the left hip either to turn through. So the first drive I hit a little left, but that second one, oh my God, that is it's just so long. I mean, that's got to be easily 300. It felt like nothing. I mean, just the extra mobility I'm getting now. I still have the same arm swing. The guy Max at the Speed Clinic said my arm swing was golden. It was just to free up my hips, and that was it.
It's just a walk in the park, folks.
Okay, just roasted.
Delivered mail on the bunker.
Excellent.
On the bunker.
So
no problem.
hopefully that makes sense. Backswing. Try to get this right hip deep. Feel like this stays stable, and then this turns. This starts moving. So from here to here, I get compression, connection between this and here. Get the squat move. Then this side starts getting connection, and I get through. So that's what needs to happen to maintain spine angle. I'm still doing the same exact move with my arms up. Once I get out over here, I'm challenging this way. And just keep challenging up this way. Over exaggerate it this way. Keep turning through and boom, hit it. Thanks guys, appreciate everyone's help.
Good luck.
Okay. Jennifer has the best weight loss program in the entire world. Okay. It works faster than anything else. Okay. But this is you. And we can scroll through your swing, as you can see like that. Okay. We can actually like play it if you want to actually play it. You can play it in fast time. You can play it backwards if you've ever have a reason to play your swing backwards. We can go 1 frame at a time. Okay. We can obviously go really slow too. Okay.
Okay.
And then we can use the little frame pad here. Okay. But really importantly is we're in 3D.
Wow.
All right. So, right, we can look in any direction we want, which is nice. We can zoom in and zoom out. So if I want to see what's going on right at your hip, I can zoom in and zoom out.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay. So you'll have plenty of ability to kind of play around with this as much as you want.
Okay.
Okay. Now you've noticed these arrows. Okay. Any idea what those arrows are?
Forces.
Yeah. What is engineers? Yeah, it's ground reaction force.
Yeah.
So you go into your backswing, you load your right side, the right arrow increases,
Yeah.
that makes sense. The left arrow decreases, and now you're going to go into transition here in a second, and bang, the left goes up, and then carries to finish. Okay?
That's awesome.
Now the force is also in 3 dimensions. So we have the vertical force component,
Yeah.
then we have what we call anterior posterior force component. In other words, is the arrow pointing towards your heel or towards your toe.
Right.
And then we also have like a linear force component. Is it pointing towards the target or is it pointing towards away from the target?
Okay.
Okay. So anytime with forces, it's just as simple as Newton's law. It's an equal and opposite reaction. So if I want to go left, I'm going to push right.
Okay.
Right? So I put force this way, the ground pushes back this way. Generally, my body goes in the direction of the force.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yeah.
You probably know more about this than I do, but that just gives you an idea of kind of when we think athletically of what we're dealing with.
Okay.
Okay. Over here, we've got all these graphs. There's some basics about how your body rotates and stuff like that, and the acceleration of the rotation and things like that. How much sort of separation or resistance you get between your rib cage and your pelvis, all kinds of stuff there. Okay, so there's also this. Do you know what a center of pressure is, by chance?
I mean, I can kind of guess what it might be, but
Yeah.
but I haven't studied that before.
Okay. Basically, what that is this like like if you think if my hand is on the table here,
Right.
there's one point at which all the forces sort of focus around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be the center of.
Like
Okay.
center of mass,
So it's
center
like a
of pressure.
fulcrum,
Mm-hmm.
fulcrum of the foot.
Mm-hmm. So if I was to go, so right now, my center of pressure is dead between my feet combined. All right. Now my center of pressure moved right over to this foot.
Okay.
Okay. Even though my center of mass didn't really change, my center of pressure changed
Okay.
a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And actually, the relationship between those two will cause a rotation.
Okay.
I don't usually say this to a bunch of people. You probably know more about this kind of thing than me, but basically, if your center of mass is a distance away from the center of pressure, then the center of mass will start rotating to line up.
Oh,
the center
okay.
of pressure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So let's dig into the swing and the data a little bit here. So if we go back to your, I like to look at this to start with, in a lot of ways because it's things that you can't see on a video. These are forces, and they're harder to see on video, and it's something that we have that not many places have, like anywhere, which is nice. And so I do like to focus on this and make you get something that you maybe haven't had before, in terms of understanding what's going on. So in the vertical force, this blue line is your trailing foot, your right foot. And so your setup is almost like a 50-50 weight distribution.
Right.
Okay? And then you load your right leg a little bit more into the backswing, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Most people do that. Okay? And then you start to unload your right leg, and then that causes your left leg to load more.
Right.
Okay? you're basically getting a pretty good amount of force into your left leg. So the amount of force ends up being 115% of your body weight in your left leg, meaning more than body weight.
Right.
The real big hitters will get around 140, 150 a lot of the time.
Okay.
But this is also really good. This is really good for somebody your age and what you're doing.
Okay.
There's a lot of positives here. In other words, what I'm saying is you're an athletic guy.
Okay.
Like you from wherever playing sports all your life or just playing golf at a high level, you've figured out a way to weight shift that's nice and athletic. Okay. So that's great. I like to know what I'm doing too. As far as the side-to-side ground reaction force, in other words, which way do these arrows kind of point there, this also makes a little bit of sense. Okay. In other words, as you take the club back, this is going to start to point back behind the target. Why? Because a lot of your mass is going back behind your left foot. Okay. And then around transition, these will start to shift that way. You see that?
Right.
Good. And then also in a lot of good players, what we see is this starts to reverse as you really start to accelerate. So this will pull back here. Okay. That just means that you're almost like positioning yourself this way instead of like this way. Right? That wouldn't be a very athletic way to hit the ball. So you've got a lot of good things going. Okay. Now, anterior posterior. Okay, so heel to toe. This one we're going to get a lot of mileage out of. Okay. So the basics of it here, Doug, are that you've got some nice athleticism. You use your body very well, what you have with your body. Now we got to start to focus on a couple of the limitations in your body that are holding you back from really kind of more consistency.
Right.
A little bit of distance too, but really consistency in the low point of your swing. Okay. And we're going to find some of that here. So as you take the club back, you see that the pelvis starts to throw forwards. You see that?
Yeah.
So your pelvis is obviously really important because your center of mass is right near there. So when that moves, a lot of things change. Good. And this really throws forwards. Okay. And so now what you've done,
So I do a lot of posterior tilting of the pelvis.
yeah, a little bit, yeah. It's what we would call translation. So there's I can rotate, but I can also translate, like move in space.
Right.
And you've actually translated forwards. So what is that telling us? That's setting you up to kind of lose your posture in the downswing, so to speak, to come up and out of it. Some people call it goat humping, some people call it early extension, all that kind of stuff. That is set up really by about here, right there, especially as you start to do that. Right in there. That is now, as the Julius Caesar said, the die is cast. 99.9% of the time, you're going to keep going that way.
Yeah.
And then talking with Rick a little bit and just seeing tendencies of how you swing and where your low point is, that's going to create a lot of inconsistency.
Right.
So, you know, in this part of your body and how this works with your brain is really good, really outstanding. A lot of coordination, excellent wrist motion and control of that area. But if this starts moving around, you know, your wrist can only do so much. So like you're great at compensating, like any athlete is. But then, of course, there are times when that compensation doesn't quite work.
Right.
You know, and then most people, when it comes time to playing tournaments, then it gets a little tougher because the adrenaline's up and everything like that. So what I want to work on then is, you know, how are we controlling the movement of our pelvis and the hip. So here's just a little, I'll put it in this kind of like a simple little rule of thumb. Okay, if your hip doesn't move, then your pelvis and lower back will. Okay. So your brain is telling your body to swing the golf club and hit the ball out there, right? And you're great at following that directive. Okay, so the brain cares about a couple of things. Your brain cares about self-preservation, you know, just don't fall over.
Right.
Okay. Number two, try to use as little energy as possible. That's all. So, and then number three is do what you're telling it to do, which is hit the ball. So it's going to figure out any way to make that happen.
Right.
Okay. Your way to make that happen involves kind of a frozen right hip. And as this freezes its motion, then the pelvis and the lower back have to keep moving.
Therefore, the translation.
So that's why your pelvis here looks really sort of closed.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So you have quote unquote a lot of hip turn,
Right.
but you don't actually have a real movement at the hip.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. And so because of that, because this stops accepting load, then this leg is going to straighten, and then this pelvis is going to get thrown forwards. So if I went like this, my hip can't move, and I just straighten my knee, boom. All I did was straighten my knee. See what happened? I got thrown forwards.
Right.
I'll show you this up here. And if I straighten my leg,
Right.
good. That's a frozen hip. If I don't have a frozen hip, see, I don't get thrown forwards.
Right.
Okay, so this is like pure hip motion.
Right.
Okay, this is frozen hip motion.
But is my hip really frozen, or is that just like a motor skill that I developed?
Both. Yeah. So you have great flexibility going this way. What we call external rotation of the hip.
Right.
Really excellent. Like really excellent. And then you have like nothing going this way.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. So when right, that's really tough for you. And it's even tougher on the left side. So in the backswing, the right hip will need to do this, which is called internally rotate. And then on the downswing, the left hip will need to do that same thing. Okay, that's how you keep your posture.
Right. Okay.
Okay, and that's where we're really limiting.
Okay.
That's your biggest limitation.
Okay.
So, will you give him things on his chiropractor things to help?
Yeah, we'll work on it. Yeah. What's fascinating? So you're really stiff in a couple areas, and you're really mobile in a couple areas.
Yeah.
So what I'm telling you is, I don't think you just stretch your hip.
Okay.
I don't think that's like the solution.
Okay.
Much like stretching your hamstrings, it'll feel good for a little bit, but until the stabilization of this kind of works itself out, these guys will always end up feeling tight because they have to compensate.
Right. Okay.
So like a lot of golfers, you're really good at compensating. And what we want to do is make that compensation basically a little bit easier. So what happens here is now this pelvis has moved forward and has turned so much that there's not much way to get out of it except to start to throw forwards here. Right there. So if you're looking, boom, like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're in the backswing, you're moving closer to the ball, and then also in the downswing, you're moving closer to the ball. So now your whole body stands up, and now your neck has to tilt down there.
Right,
So
right,
then we
yeah.
start to worry about neck pain,
Right,
and stuff
exactly,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's why you have that stiffness in your neck. This is one of the hardest things for you to do.
Right.
Is that, and it's wear and tear through that.
Yeah.
So you have to work on that, doing the chin thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's.
I mean,
yeah.